me. We remember it like it was yesterday. It was one of the stories of the window, wasn't it? Alexander Isak's British record transfer move to Liverpool. It dominated the whole window before finally getting over the line on deadline day. So, Mark, it was like the 24 hours, wasn't it, before deadline day slammed shut. Take us through what was actually happening behind the scenes, because you've got some great intel.
Yeah, you say you remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it like it was a nightmare from yesterday. It was one of those transfers that consumed everything we did for, I think, 54 days on Sky Sports News, right till deadline day. And I think Liverpool, in a way, played a blinder because they got the player they wanted, yes, for a Premier League record fee, but ultimately they got the best striker in the world at their football club, which was one of their intentions at the start of the window. Not only did they get Alexander Isak, but they also signed the best striker in Europe in Hugo Ekitike. So now their strike force at this moment in time looks incredible. But yes, the position of Newcastle throughout the course of the window was Alexander Isak is not for sale. When you go back to that statement that they released, you look at the detail and you read between the lines. Clearly, they had set out parameters for a potential sale, a replacement being sourced, and of course, a fee that we're happy with. Now, whilst it was late on in the window, ultimately, the Newcastle hierarchy very clearly got the right conditions for a sale. And it was their decision, regardless of what Alexander Isak put on social media, or not training, or not going to Asia. It was ultimately always their decision to make, and they decided when was the time to sell Alexander Isak. I went to bed on the Sunday night, the day before deadline day. We'd done a 3-hour show here. I knew I had to be up early, and it was one of those moments, and you probably had this a number of times, where you put your phone on the side of the bed and you think, right, that's it, no more. Switch off, get some kip, and then get ready for the day ahead. And I was just sort of loosely in bed, and my phone lit up, and I ignored it. And then my phone lit up again and I ignored it. And then on the third time, I thought, hang on, I need to look at this. And there was the information. Deal agreed, 125 million. And then shortly after, confirmation that there was a second source that would also confirm 125 million. So that was when it happened. It was about 12:30 on the Sunday night leading into deadline day. And from then it was all systems go. For the next couple of hours, we were up here at Sky Sports News. There were people in the office trying to make sure we got the accurate information. We'd had it confirmed from both ends that this was a deal that was going to happen on deadline day. I think the biggest thing on all of this was Newcastle's stance clearly changed later on in the window. Now, you probably had this where an owner has said to you at one stage, we're not going to do this, don't worry. And then a couple of weeks later, they say, boss, I hate to say it, I know we said we weren't going to do this, but we're going to do this.
You got to factor in the most important part of this transfer is the player.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you can have a stand as the owner, and you can definitely have a stand as Eddie Howe as the manager to say, right, he's not going. We want you. You know, you've been so important to us. We're going to make a stand. You're not going for any price. But if that player is literally downing tools, not wanting to train, feels somewhere along the line that his agent got promised the move if the figure was right, you know, even if it wasn't written down, it was a verbal kind of, listen, if they come and it's massive, then we'll think about it, maybe it will happen. That kind of thing gets in the player's head. They're not letting that go. And that's what I think's happened to here. It's been the player who's dictated this. He did it with his actions, him and his team. And in the end, their hand was forced. But their hand was forced to a degree where they pushed Liverpool to this fee. So it kind of worked in a way for the Newcastle board. But I don't think it was ever set in stone, if you're asking my opinion, that he was going to be sold. I don't think so. I think it was purely the force of the player. There wasn't even an inkling that he might give in, like he'd come into training for a week or something. He just stayed away. And it was really bad behaviour. You can't get away from the fact that him and his team, their attitude to the professional contract he had at Newcastle was extremely poor. And that's me being diplomatic.
So is that for you where it all sort of happened, the whys and the wheres of actually how it actually happened, why they decided to sell at the 11th hour? Was that part of it, the fact that he had down tools? You know, because it's almost like polar opposite to what was happening at Crystal Palace, isn't it? Glazer said no, Gay continued to play, and so the player stayed. Here we had way back, you know, 56 days into that, you know, however long that window was, he wasn't playing. He was training separately from the club. And there was this agitation for the move that he eventually got in the 11th hour. And actually, in hindsight, whether it did Liverpool any good, that remains to be seen, because they've got a player that isn't up to speed right now. And, you know, whether it certainly did Newcastle any good, that remains to be seen, because they got Walter in. Now, he looks like he might be the real deal, but they would have had him in sooner, surely.
Yeah, ultimately they would have probably, you know, lined up a replacement.
Yeah.
The replacement, as we know, was Hugo Ekitike.
Yes.
You know, that was the deal that Newcastle
No
were
doubt.
looking to do. That was the deal they thought they were going to get done. And then, as is the case in so many transfer windows, the dynamics shift. Liverpool pick up the phone to Frankfurt, and suddenly there's a conversation there, and then Hugo's got a decision to make. I think that
So just that in that
yes.
point, you can understand from Newcastle's point of view that irritated them as well.
Of course.
Right? So
Yeah.
not only are they Liverpool after Newcastle's top goal scorer and maybe the second best striker in the Premier League. You didn't mention Haaland, by the way. So the fact that they went and took Ekitike as well just even caused more upset, I think. Eddie Howe's position was quite clear all the way through, and that's the hand I would have played. Our relationship's fine. If he comes back, he's playing. That was basically what Eddie was saying. But he knew deep down he was going to go.
So
Yeah.
your phone was ringing. Just to tell us the when. When did it actually, the sale went through? What was it?
I think it was late on the Sunday night. We got confirmation about 12:15, 12:30, midnight. And then, yeah, they had, until 7 p.m. on the Monday to try and get the deal done and completed. Now, ultimately, a lot of the agreements were in place already between Isak, his camp, and Liverpool. So that wouldn't have been a conversation that needed to happen. It was purely club to club in those last moments.
When did you think Newcastle finally said, OK, enough is enough, we are literally
By the
selling?
way, which is illegal.
Yes.
Let's just make that clear.
Yeah.
The fact that everybody knows is just part of the process, and we will kind of accept it. But it is illegal
Yeah.
for the deal to have been done beforehand.
Yeah.
So we can't actually say that as a fact, but probably happened.
Yes. Do you know what?
Saying
That's funny,
nothing
actually, and
about
that's where
it.
the transfers have changed so much.
Yeah.
Now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we would say he's been given permission to discuss personal terms.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when we now say personal terms are not expected to be a problem, that's code for they've already done the deal with the agent. But like Alan rightly points out, it's illegal, it's tapping up, and you're not allowed to do it. But it's almost like it's a part of modern day transfers that's just been glossed over. And people say, well, don't worry about that anymore, it's not a thing. So, yeah, ultimately. But back in the day, you'd have clubs reporting clubs for illegally speaking to their players.
That's happened many times.
Yeah, absolutely. The game's moved on and changed, and those rules are not enforced in the way they used to be. But yeah, it was late on Sunday. And to answer your question, when was Newcastle's decision? Now, ultimately, only the Newcastle board can decide at what point they decided. But when you see the chairman fly over, there were rumours and reports of a meeting at Alexander Isak's house the Monday before deadline day. You'd presume that 7 to 10 days before deadline day would have been where the big decisions were made. And maybe it was quite clear that Alex didn't want to be there, and his mindset was very much focused on Liverpool and Liverpool only. And the only other thing as well, Newcastle would probably say, actually, we still held the cards. He had 3 years left on his contract. PIF worth whatever they're worth, £800 billion, could have ultimately said, hang on, we don't care what you put on social media and how you act.
Which is my point, which they could have.
They could have done.
Easily. They was in a position to do that. It was just the force of the player. And I think you're right. That meeting 6-7 days beforehand was very much, let's see if we can get a new deal with him. Let's see if we can build some bridges. And obviously, after that meeting, there was definitely an indication that that wasn't going to happen. The German guy comes in, and that goes.
And Newcastle get a Premier League record, £125 million. So they'll look at it and say...
And their replacement looks great.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yes. And,
We're really happy.
do you know something? And you know that patch better than anyone. You've been in the hot seat there. Immediately feels like there's a connection between him and the fan base, which is crucial. He's scored some goals. The thing is, I think he's an exceptional player, and Eddie really liked him, and they really liked his technical ability as well, and he'll bring a lot. He's a different type of striker to Alexander Isak. So therefore, Eddie's just got to find a different way in their build-up play, because Alex won't make the same runs that Nick will make. So therefore, the players just need that little bit of bedding in time to understand the type of service he requires and the type of player he is. But there's no question, brilliant start so far, and he could be one of those players that in 2 or 3 years' time we look back and say, what a great signing that was for 75 million euros.
Yeah, just to confirm, no kind of information that Liverpool did anything untowards, and of course they did get their player over the line. Remains to be seen what a player he'll turn into for Liverpool, though, doesn't it? Right, Michael, you have 2020-20. Explain.
Yeah, if you've been on our app today, you'll have seen that we've been looking at the best signing for each Premier League club in the 2020s. Our club reporters provided their top 3. More than 150,000 of you voted and given us your views. So thanks for getting involved. 150,000. Right. With your help, we've narrowed the list down to 10 as we look for the best signing in the Premier League in the 2020s. Here's the final 10. Woohoo! Right, look, as you can see here, some absolutely belting signings. I was in here the night Chelsea's Cole Palmer joined Chelsea. Everyone said, cool, that's a lot of money for a Manchester City player who can't get in the team. Wrong. Bruno Guimaraes, brilliant signing since Newcastle's takeover. Jarrod Bowen, they're all brilliant. They're all brilliant signings. So it's time. The poll is open right now on our Transfer Live blog. We want you to vote. Go to our app. You can use the QR code on the screen right now. And in our 7 p.m. show, we'll review and we'll reveal who you've chosen as the number 1.
Alexander Isak is Liverpool's new number 9. They've confirmed it officially now. He has signed in a British record transfer of £125 million, and he has signed a 6-year contract.